Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
The most dangerous man in a room is never the one holding the sword. It's the one who decided, weeks in advance, which sword would be in the room, and who it would be pointing at. For 8 seasons and 5 books, you were told Petyr Baelish climbed on chaos. That's the version he wanted repeated. Because Littlefinger never gambled on chaos in his life. He engineered systems, financial, political, human, where every possible outcome paid him. And over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through every major deception he ever ran, including one buried so deep in the books that it rewrites the death that started this entire story. Start with the scene everyone thinks they understand, the Sept of Baelor. Ned Stark on his knees. A boy king smiles, ignores every deal his own council made, and takes Ned's head. For years, the fandom has called this the moment chaos beat the players. A mad child breaking the game. Unless Ned Stark was never leaving King's Landing alive, no matter what Joffrey decided. Unless someone had already paid for his death. Twice. By the end of this video, you'll know who was sitting in a cage on the road north, why he was there, and why the answer changes the meaning of the entire series. And I promise you, it is not what you think. In the deepest level of the Red Keep's dungeons, the Black Cells, where the Crown keeps men it intends the world to forget, 3 prisoners are pulled out and loaded into a cage bound for the wall. Rorge, Biter, and a red and white-haired man from Braavos who speaks of himself in the third person.
Ego gives a man his own name.
Jaqen H'ghar, a faceless man of Braavos, one of the deadliest assassins in the known world, an operative who can change his face, walk through guarded castles, and make death look like accident, illness, or curse. And we're supposed to believe the City Watch of King's Landing caught him. Think about what the Black Cells actually are. Not the common dungeons, the bottom level, reserved for traitors to the Crown. A faceless man, a killer who charges more than the price of an army, gets arrested like a pickpocket and thrown into the one place in Westeros he can't be found, unless being unfindable was the entire point. Now, let me be honest with you, because this channel doesn't sell theory as canon. No maester will confirm what I'm about to show you. George R.R. Martin has never explained why Jaqen was in that cell. But watch what happens when you ask the only question that matters. Who benefits? The convoy Jaqen is loaded into belongs to Yoren of the Night's Watch. The same convoy that, under the deal brokered by the small council, was supposed to carry one more passenger north. Eddard Stark. Ned takes the black. Ned rides to the wall. Ned sits within arm's reach of a caged faceless man for 1,000 miles of empty road. And who, in all of King's Landing, needed Ned Stark to die on that road?
I did warn you not to trust me.
Ned Stark knew Littlefinger betrayed him. He watched him do it with a dagger at his throat. If Ned reaches the wall, if Ned says one sentence to a passing raven, one word to his son marching south with 20,000 Northmen, Petyr Baelish is a dead man. Ned in the Black Cells is a problem. Ned alive at the wall is a death sentence. Now stack the evidence. In the books, when the small council debates assassinating Daenerys Targaryen, one man explains exactly what the Faceless Men charge. That for the price of one, you could hire an army of common sellswords. Littlefinger. He knows the House of Black and White's pricing the way a merchant knows his suppliers. Littlefinger's own family is Braavosi. His great-grandfather was a Braavosi sellsword. His grandfather so proud of it he took the head of the Titan of Braavos as his sigil. The back channel to Braavos isn't a stretch. It's his bloodline. And here's the physical detail almost everyone misses. In the books, the jailer who runs those dungeons is a man named Rugen. And Rugen is one of the secret identities of Varys. The Black Cells are the spider's own web. You cannot bribe a man into them without Varys knowing. There is exactly one kind of operative on the planet who can sit inside Varys's web wearing a face that tells him nothing. A faceless man wasn't the expensive option. He was the only option. So when Joffrey shocked the world on the steps of the Sept, he didn't ruin a plan. He triggered the cheaper version of it. The insurance policy in the cage was simply never cashed, and a magical assassin ended up stranded on the road north, sitting across from a little girl with a list of names. Hold that thought. It comes back at the end of this video, and when it does, it's going to hurt. If the man in that cage just changed what the Sept of Baelor means, that's the moment people on this channel hit like. Littlefinger never asked for anything out loud, and neither will I. But something just shifted. You know it. Mark it. Hi, I'm Nick, you're watching Cynic Cults, and we're just getting started. Because an insurance policy that expensive costs a fortune, and to understand where that gold came from, you have to open the account books Littlefinger spent a decade making sure no living man could read.
For years I've heard that Littlefinger is a magician. Whenever the crown needs money, he rubs his hands together and poof, mountains of gold.
He's not a magician. He's the most successful white-collar criminal in the history of Westeros. And the fraud is documented, on the page, if you know where to look. It starts small. Jon Arryn hands young Petyr a minor customs post in Gulltown, a nothing job for a nothing lord. And the revenues explode. The realm decides this boy can rub 2 coins together and breed a third. Nobody asks the question every auditor asks first. Did the port actually earn more, or did the books just say so? A man who can inflate numbers to build a reputation can deflate them to hide a theft. Same skill, same hands. Then he's promoted to Master of Coin, and watch what he does, because this is the part the show never gave you. He purges the Treasury. In the books, Tyrion discovers that the keepers of the keys, the king's counter, the king's scales, the officers of all 3 mints, the harbor masters, the tax farmers, the customs sergeants, position after position, roughly 9 of every 10 men, are Littlefinger's appointments. Not nobles with their own lands and their own loyalty, merchants, lesser-born men, foreigners, men whose entire existence depends on one patron. He didn't take a job at the counting house. He became the counting house. Every coin entering the crown's coffers is counted by his man, weighed by his man, minted by his man, taxed by his man. There is no independent number anywhere in the system. And when Tyrion inherits the office and tries to audit the books, he finds not accounts, but a living web. Loans, investments, debts, all tangled through each other so completely that pulling one thread means freezing the finances of the realm. The books weren't badly kept. They were built to be unreadable. An audit-proof treasury is not incompetence, it's architecture. Meanwhile, the crown sinks 6 million gold dragons into debt, to Casterly Rock, to the Faith, to the Iron Bank of Braavos, while Littlefinger's private empire of brothels and property grows. Front businesses that turn invisible coin into legitimate assets. And the debt itself? Structured so that the moment war breaks out, the whole thing detonates. Payments the crown can't make. Creditors like the Iron Bank push to fund the crown's enemies just to recover their capital. Here's the reframe that changes how you see this man forever. Littlefinger was never good at making money for the realm. He was good at making the realm unable to survive without him. Fire him, and the system collapses. Audit him, and the system collapses. Arrest him, and the Iron Bank comes calling. The debt was the weapon. And now ask yourself, what does a man do with that playbook once he's mastered it on gold? He runs it on people. Because Littlefinger's greatest conquest didn't cost a single soldier. He stole an entire kingdom with a piece of theater. And the actor he cast for the lead role is one of the deadliest swordsmen alive. The Vale of Arryn, untouched by the war. 20,000 fresh swords behind the bloody gate. And after Lysa Arryn goes out the moon door, its most powerful lords form an alliance with one purpose: remove Petyr Baelish. This act, by the way, is not a theory. Every move you're about to see is confirmed canon from Littlefinger's own mouth. The show cut this entire storyline. The books preserved a masterpiece. The Lords Declarant march on the Eyrie backed by an army. Bronze Yohn Royce, Anya Waynwood, the proudest names in the Vale, demanding Littlefinger surrender the boy Robert Arryn and get out. He's cornered, outnumbered, finished. And then, Mid-negotiation, one of the six, Sir Lyn Corbray, a duelist with a Valyrian steel sword and a killer's temper, loses control. He draws steel at a parley, under guest right, the most sacred protection in Westerosi culture. He threatens Littlefinger's life in front of everyone, and the coalition dies right there. Not because of the blade, because of the shame. The honorable lords are so mortified that one of their own broke sacred law that they lose all moral high ground on the spot. Littlefinger, gracious, wounded, reasonable, offers a compromise. Give him 1 year as Lord Protector. Prove him unfit later. Desperate to not be the faction that shattered Guestright, they take the deal. They walked in with an army. They walked out with an appointment for next year. Now the confession. In the books, Littlefinger privately reveals the truth to Sansa. Lyn Corbray is his. Bought and paid for, with gold, and with boys. The assassination attempt was commissioned by the target. Every second of that outburst was choreographed by the man at the other end of the blade. And it gets darker. Corbray's ongoing job is to keep loudly plotting against Littlefinger, so that every genuine conspirator in the Vale walks straight to him and gets catalogued. His worst enemy is his employee. His opposition is his intelligence network. While the lords are busy losing that theater, he's already bought the rest of the board. Nestor Royce, keeper of the Gates of the Moon, gets his lordship made hereditary. And here's the detail that proves the genius. The deed carries Littlefinger's signature as Lord Protector. If Littlefinger falls, the paper his family's future is written on falls with him. Nestor isn't loyal. Nestor is invested. And Anya Waynwood, one of the Lords Declarant herself? Littlefinger quietly buys up her house's crushing debts, then offers to erase them for one signature. A betrothal between Harold Harding, heir to the Vale, and Littlefinger's quiet bastard daughter, Elaine Stone, who is Sansa Stark, heir to Winterfell, which means the Endgame was never the Vale. The Vale is the delivery mechanism for the North. One staged sword, one signed deed.
Money buys a man's silence for a time. A bolt in the heart buys it forever.
One purchased debt. A kingdom of 20,000 swords, conquered without a drop of blood, and the men who came to destroy him thanked him for his patience on the way out. That is not a schemer getting lucky. That is a system, and you've now seen it run 3 times. YouTube hands you 3 hypes a week. 3. Most people let them rot in their pocket, and Littlefinger built an empire out of exactly that. Assets other men forgot they were holding. This breakdown, the cage, the ledgers, the staged blade, does not exist anywhere else on this platform. So if it earned it, spend one here. That's how a channel with no great house behind it storms the gates, because there's one thread from this story we left dangling in a cage on the King's Road, and it's time to pull it. Remember what I told you to hold on to? The insurance policy was never cashed. Jaqen H'ghar, stranded in a convoy that was supposed to contain Ned Stark, ends up owing his life to a 10-year-old girl who pulls 3 prisoners from a burning barn. And the Faceless Man does something his order exists to monetize. He gives it away for free. 3 deaths, any name she chooses. The fandom has screamed about what happens next for over a decade. She has Tywin Lannister's entire war machine within reach, and in the books, she and Tywin never even meet. That cupbearer storyline is pure show invention. She could name the men whose deaths would cancel the Red Wedding before it's ever planned. Instead, she names Chiswick. And Whis, a guard who told an ugly story, and a petty overseer who slapped her. For years, viewers called this stupidity. It isn't. Read her chapters again. She's not a player, she's a mouse. A traumatized child using the most powerful weapon in Westeros to make the hitting stop. Even Arya realizes it, in the books, almost immediately. Why didn't she say Lord Tywin? The tragedy isn't that she chose wrong. It's that she was a child who should never have been holding the weapon at all. And look at how Whis actually dies. Because this is a Faceless Man showing you his craft. No blade, no fall. His own dog, the dog he raised from a pup, tears his throat out at dinner. The garrison instantly blames the curse of Harrenhal, because Harrenhal is exactly the kind of haunted ruin where a curse is the story everyone's already prepared to believe. The strongest theory points to a poison from the books called basilisk blood, a paste that makes cooked meat smell irresistible and drives any warm-blooded creature that eats it into violent madness. Again, the method is theory. But the lesson is canon. A faceless man doesn't hide the murder. He hands you a better story, and you hide it for him. Which is Littlefinger's exact technique, wearing a different face. And now the loop closes. Follow the chain with me. If the Black Cells theory is true, Littlefinger's contingency put Jaqen in that cage. The cage put Jaqen in Arya's debt. The debt put an iron coin in Arya's hand. The coin put her on a ship to Braavos. Braavos turned a mouse into a faceless killer. And in the Great Hall of Winterfell, when the trap finally shuts, look at who opens his throat. Not an army, not a rival player. Arya Stark, with the Valyrian steel dagger that started the War of the Five Kings, using skills she learned in the House of Black and White. The man engineered dependency into everything he touched. The Treasury couldn't fire him, Nestor couldn't survive him, the Vale couldn't remove him. And the one contingency he never collected on grew, in the dark, for 6 years, into the only person in Westeros who owed him nothing. His insurance policy trained his executioner. Even chaos is a ladder, the most quoted line he ever spoke, is the final misdirection. He never climbed chaos. He climbed dependency, and called it chaos so no one would check the ledgers. The one time genuine chaos entered his game, a child, a barn fire, 3 names, it ended him. The lie wasn't in what he said. The lie was in what you were allowed to believe. Here's the truth this whole video has been building toward. Go back through every operation we covered, and notice what's missing. Littlefinger almost never tells an outright lie. He didn't tell the realm he was a financial genius. Gulltown's numbers said it, and the realm wanted a magician. He didn't tell Nestor Royce he was a great lord. A piece of parchment said it, and Nestor's vanity did the rest. He didn't force the Lords Declarant to surrender. Their own honor did, the moment he handed it a stage. He didn't even swing the sword at the Sept of Baelor. He understood that a cruel boy, handed an audience and a choice, would write the ending himself. Littlefinger's genius was never deception. It was casting. He found what each person already desperately wanted to believe about themselves. The wise king, the honorable lord, the indispensable friend. And he simply agreed with them, out loud, at the exact moment it profited him. And that's why this story matters outside of Westeros. Because the most dangerous deception in your life will never be a lie someone tells you. It will be the story you already tell yourself, the one you'd defend, the one you'd pay for, the one a stranger only has to nod along with. Littlefinger didn't fool everyone. He let everyone fool themselves. So here's what I want in the comments, and I want the real answer. Do you buy it? Did Littlefinger put Jaqen H'ghar in that black cell? Or is the theory too clean, too perfect, exactly the kind of story a fandom wants to believe, which would make us his last victims? And if he did do it, whose death in this series are we still blaming on the wrong man? Make your case. The best arguments get pinned. This is the part where most channels beg you to subscribe. I'm not going to do that. But if you walked into this video thinking Littlefinger was a clever liar, and you're walking out knowing he was an architect, that the ledgers, the deed, the staged blade, and the man in the cage were all one machine, then you already think like we do here. We're building an empire of people who refuse to accept the version they were given. And if you're still here, you're already one of us. You know what to do. Now, every deception you just watched ends in the same room, the Great Hall of Winterfell, a blade, and a single unfinished word. But the execution you remember? That's not the scene they wrote. A coordination scene was filmed and deleted. An entirely different version of the trial leaked in the HBO hack. And the blueprint for Littlefinger's death was published 17 years before the cameras ever rolled. Hidden inside a prophecy the entire fandom decoded wrong. Because the man who fooled everyone spent those 17 years hiding one weakness. And Sansa found it. That full breakdown is right here. See you there. Until then, stay Colt.